Esta lección es sobre el subjuntivo en español. ¿Qué es el subjuntivo? Primero, it's not a tense. Okay, we have the present, past, and future tenses in Spanish. So if we were to take a verb como bailar, bailar, en el presente, él baila mucho los fines de semana. Ayer, él bailó en clase. Okay, future, va a bailar. There is a form, we haven't learned it yet. You will probably next class. Y, bailaba, cuando era niño, bailaba mucho. So those are your tenses. This, the subjunctive, is a mood. It's used to reflect how the speaker feels about the action. Okay, it's widely used in Spanish, not as much in English, but we do have it. For example, if I were rich, I wouldn't have to work. I am working, I'm not rich. God bless America. Kind of like, if only God would bless America, or I hope that God blesses America. Everything we're saying about this is waiting. We're not sure it's going to happen. The law requires that you be 21 to legally buy alcohol. Those are a few examples of subjunctive in English. But we say it's widely used in Spanish, not as much in English. So we do use it, but Spanish, you have to learn it. Very much used in Spanish. Los mandatos formales. Aquí tenemos las conjugaciones del subjuntivo. Okay? It's used just like we do formal commands. Okay? Formal commands we used for this group of people. Used formal commands. Now, I pulled this over for how to form. For the subjunctive, we start with the present tense yo form. And then we switch the endings. Your AR verbs go to an ER-IR ending, or they take your E forms. And then your ER-IR verbs take an A ending. So if we take the verb bailar, again, bailar is an AR verb. So in the subjunctive, it's going to take an E ending. Es, e. Okay. And then likewise, put a split there. Your ER-ARs would take the A endings. As, Cuidado. Cuidado, hay stem changers, funky use, phonetic use. And this is why it's essential to start at the present tense yo form. Okay? So because of this, we have to start with yo. And that's how from the verb hacer, we go to hago. And that gives us the subjunctive haga. So we take it to A because it's an ER, but we have to start here and we get to haga. Salgo gives you salga. Quepo gives you quepa. Phonetic use. You have your car, gar, sar. These seagull. These are important too, but we can't forget these guys. Car, gar, sar. So all of those are important for this. So buscar, quiero que busques. Okay, so this is how to form, and again, you had all these for your formal commands. So if you go back to that lesson, formal commands, which wasn't long ago, you'll figure out how to, it's the usted, ustedes, and even the negative too. We already had all these conjugations. We're adding a yo form. We're adding more forms. We'll see in a second. But basically, you already know how to do this. Remember, oh, I'm sorry. Here's those spelled out for you. This gives you some more, like conozco. Conocer goes to conozco, which gives you conozca. Okay. Some of these are less common, but conseguir, consigo, consiga, coger, coja. Dishes. This helped you remember the irregulars. And these are going to be your regulars here. So de, vaya, sea, haya, esté, sepa. Okay, continuamos. Remember that mientras los mandatos formales solo tienen dos formas, aquí el subjuntivo tiene 6 formas para todos los sujetos. Todas las partes de las voces personales, como first person, second person. Hable, hables, hable, hablemos, habléis. Sorry about that format there, but probably I pulled it from a Mac. So, hable, hables, this is going to be your yo. Tú hables. Él, ella, usted hable. Nosotros hablemos. Vosotros habléis. Y ustedes hablen. Remember your stem changers? Everything forms in the exact same way as the formal commands, except for one exception. I are stem changing verbs, show their normal stem change. However, they show a second stem change in these forms. Because we did not learn these commands, you haven't seen this. But they only take part of the stem. Have you ever seen dormir? Take part of the stem, just O to U instead of duermo, the O to UE. How about the preterite tense? Él durmió. Sorry. Wrong place. Él durmió. Or estoy durmiendo. So we have seen part of the stem. It does it here too. So we have dormamos, dormais. Other example, E to I would be preferamos, preferáis. Again, you've already learned most of these. I don't want to spend much time here. I did include this within your D2L. You have a handout of this to help you create this. Now, vamos a los usos del subjuntivo. ¿Or cuándo usamos el subjuntivo? Vamos a ver 3 reglas para el subjuntivo. Empezamos. Número 1 es: the subjunctive requires a complex sentence. A complex sentence. You have a main clause and a connector with a subordinate clause. Your connector is que. So what is a complex sentence? Quiero que corras. Quiero que corras. Quiero is your main clause. Que corras is your subordinate clause. Identify the clauses. María fue al gimnasio ayer. Is that a complex sentence? No. Simple sentence, right? She went to the gym yesterday. What about the next one? Enrique estudió por 3 horas ayer. Complex or simple? Simple. Manolo quiere que Ana le llame. Complex or simple? Complex. We have one person wanting that Ana le llame. Okay, we have two things going on. This would be your main clause, subordinate clause. Patricia sabe que Lulu viene temprano. Complex or simple? Complex. Marcos quiere ir al cine esta noche con María. That one's long. Is it simple or complex? One set of verbs going on here with no K. Simple. Es bueno que los estudiantes lleguen temprano a clase. Simple, complex. It's good that los estudiantes lleguen. Complex. Es importante llegar temprano a clase. Simple. Me encanta cantar en el carro. Simple. Me preocupa que Juan todavía no esté aquí. One verb, que. Another verb, complex. Okay, hopefully you can identify simple, complex. Continuamos. We have a main clause with a dependent clause, as we just looked at, with a que. Now, in this part, in the indicative, before the que, or in this part, in the main clause, before the que, we're going to use the indicative form. What is the indicative? Everything you've learned so far. Okay? The indicative form is an AR verb conjugates o, as, a, amos. Okay? Or in the past tense, it conjugates aste, or aba, right? Your ERs conjugate like an ER verb, your IRs like an IR verb. The indicative is everything you've learned about conjugations at this point, the way your verbs operate so far. Now, what we're learning today, the subjunctive is going to be in this part. It's going to be after your que. Now, rule number 1. The subjunctive requires a complex sentence. So, we nailed down a complex sentence. Rule number 2. The subjunctive requires two different subjects. So we need a complex sentence, and we need a complex sentence with two different subjects. So aquí, quiero que corras. ¿Cuál es el sujeto aquí? El sujeto es yo, porque la forma es yo. Okay, so yo quiero que tú corras. Number 3, you have to have something in the main clause that produces that mood we talked about. Remember, subjunctive is a mood. All the way back to the start, subjunctive, it's a mood used to reflect how the speaker feels about the action. Okay, so rule number 3, these are extensive. In this class, you only have to learn part, but this part of the sentence has to have one of these to cause us to use subjunctive, that opposite vowel form. Now, these are your weirdo expressions, and basically someone created this to help you remember when to use subjunctive. So when we have a want, I want that something happen. When we have an emotion, I fear that something will happen. I'm happy that something will happen. When we have an impersonal phrase, that it's possible that something will happen. when we have a request. I say you need to study. I'm telling you that you need to study. When you have a doubt, denial, I doubt that. Or you have ojalá, basically, if only, or God willing. So all of these, this is your weirdo, and you would have a weirdo with a K, and then this would go in the subjunctive form. Now, main clauses that do not use subjunctive, you don't have to know this yet, but I do want to point it out. Creo que el examen es mañana. Even though we look at it as believe, it sounds like we're not sure, but creo que in Spanish is always indicative. So it would say creo que. Creo que tenemos un examen. Just like we've always done. I think that normal ER verb, we have an exam. No dudo que, es cierto que, es claro que, es evidente que, es obvio que. So these, I believe that. I don't doubt that. It is true that, it is certain that, or clear that, it is evident. All these do not use subjunctive. Now, the rules. It must be a complex sentence. It must have different subjects in each clause. And then lastly, it has to have a weirdo characteristic in the first clause. If you have all three of these, your second verb will always be in the subjunctive verb, or subjunctive form, sorry, the opposite vowel. Now, subjuntivo o indicativo. María fue al gimnasio ayer. Indicativo. Enrique estudió por 3 horas ayer. Is it simple or complex? Simple, so it can't be subjunctive, right? What about this one? Manolo quiere que Ana le llame. Manolo quiere, subjunctive or indicative? This one's indicative, so he wants that. Now, do we have two different subjects? Manolo, number 1, Ana, 2. Manolo wants that. Does this involve a weirdo expression? Yeah, wants or desires. So this note, llamar, note, is in the subjunctive. Patricia sabe que Lulu viene temprano. First of all, is it a setup for subjunctive? Is it a complex? Yes. Are there two subjects? Yes. Does it contain a weirdo expression? No. Patricia sabe que Lulu viene. That's your normal conjugation. That is indicative. Marcos quiere ir al cine esta noche con María. Do we have complex sentence? No. And we don't have a subject change either, right? So he's not wanting that someone else do something. If it's one subject, you can just put it all together. He wants to go to the movies. Es bueno que los estudiantes lleguen temprano a clase. First clause, es bueno que los estudiantes lleguen. Do we have complex? Yes. Do we have two subjects? Yeah, the first one, it is good. And the second one, los estudiantes. And then lastly, does this contain weirdo? Es bueno? Would it be under one of those? Impersonal phrases. Es bueno que. Es bueno que los estudiantes lleguen What verb is that? Llegar. So we see opposite vowel. Lleguen. ¿Es importante llegar temprano a clase? Not subjunctive, simple sentence. One subject. Me encanta cantar en el carro. Simple sentence. And then lastly, me preocupa que Juan todavía no esté aquí. First clause, second clause. It bothers me. This is a fun one. It's saying all this bothers me. This is a verb like gustar. So it bothers me that Juan todavía no esté aquí. This is weird though. Why? It's an emotion. Preocupar. And this is estar. So it's taking that opposite ending. Que Juan no esté aquí. Alright, go do your practice in VHL. I hope this lesson helps.